Today I attempted to make a cake and it took me around about 4 hours to do, but it ended up looking okay. So I thought I would show you how I made this, which is essentially a cake covered in Maltesers that looks like a Christmas pudding. Enjoy! You will need 125 grams of chopped butter, 3/4 of a cup of milk, or about 200 millilitres, 1 cup of brown sugar firmly packed, half a cup of cocoa powder, 3 eggs, 3/4 of a cup of self-raising flour, and half a cup of plain flour. You have to bear with me with this because I've not actually made this before and I found the recipe on Pinterest, and we all know what Pinterest recipes are like when it comes to trying to make them yourself. What I've got here is a 6-inch round baking tin. I actually thought it was a bit bigger than this when I purchased it. The picture made it look a bit bigger, so you probably want to go for one that's a little bit larger than this. I'm going to line it, or grease it rather, with some butter just to make sure that my cake doesn't stick. I've also turned the oven on and put it to 160 degrees Celsius, which is about 140 for a fan oven. And then I'm just going to put that to one side until I need it later. Next thing I'm going to do is get a large microwavable bowl, and I'm going to put in the butter, which has been chopped into smaller pieces, the milk, pour it all in there, and also the brown sugar. Now with this, what we need to do is melt it in the microwave. So it says for about 4 to 5 minutes, but you have to stop each minute and stir it just to make sure that you're not going to get any burned bits or any lumps. So bear with me while I go and do that. Now I'm left with a mixture that looks a bit like this, so if yours looks like this too, then great, we're both on the same page and we're doing things right. I'm going to add the cocoa powder, whisk it in, and the flour as well. Maybe you should do it like a spoon at a time, but the recipe doesn't specify, so I think an electric whisk would be easier to whisk with, but I don't have one of those. Apparently you need plain flour as well with this, so okay. And it's actually steaming from being warmed in the microwave. I don't know if it's supposed to be, but it is. We're gonna roll with it. Oh, this looks more cake-like now. Although I have zero muscles, so... Oh, honestly, bakers must be absolutely ripped. Now I'm going to add the eggs as well, so my 3 eggs. 1. I'm going to add them and then whisk them, I think. I feel like maybe the eggs should have gone in with the flour, like one at a time. Hey, too late for that now. 2nd egg. I'm glad I chose quite a nice big bowl for this, because otherwise I would be sloshing it all over the table. Rob would not be pleased. Nice. And then the 3rd egg. Get a load of that. And now my mixture looks like this. So I'm quite pleased because it's pretty smooth, if I do say so myself. Smooth like me. Oh, bugger. She says as she falls over her tripod. Honestly, what am I doing with my life? And now I'm going to pour it into my greased baking bowl. On the instructions for the bowl it says don't fill it more than 2/3. I'm just going to pour because there is a spout. Maybe you should spoon. We'll see how it goes. I might end up with it over the table. Let's keep our fingers crossed, shall we? Okay, that's 2/3. I can't tell because I mean, like, the top is round bigger than the bottom. So maybe that's 2/3, but I've only got like a tiny bit of mixture left. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn this rest of this mixture into little mini cakes. Just going to go for the pour again. So far I haven't dropped any on the table. Oh, my whisk! My whisk is dripping. Oh, it's on the table, it's on the table! So again, I don't want to fill these too high because otherwise I'll end up with mountain cakes that muffin top all over the place. Oh! Oh my god. Okay, whisk is going down. And now with my trusty spatula, I'm going to get all the last little bits out of the bowl. I literally love this thing. It makes the bowl so clean, so you have very little washing up to do. I don't think it's enough for a whole another cake. Oh, blimmin' heck, I've spilled it all over the place. So I'm going to put the little cake cases on a tray. And I'm going to wipe off the edges. This is literally what they do in restaurants, by the way. They wipe any spillages, so that's why it always looks perfect. Tip, if you want to make some of your own food and want to make it Insta-worthy, wipe up any of the edges, because they look a lot prettier that way, I promise. You probably don't need to put this on a tray, but because I have the tray anyway, I'm going to put it on the tray. Now, no, don't put it on a tray. I nearly just lost the whole thing. These will be going in the oven for apparently 55 minutes for this. I reckon these are only going to take about 20. So I'll check it all at 20 minutes and then we'll see.
Okay, 20 minutes and counting.
Sweet. Okay, my 20-minute timer has gone off, so let's take a look. Oh, they look like little bums. Whether a skewer or fork comes out clean. Oh, those are a little bit. I reckon a few more minutes could do on those, about maybe 5 more minutes. I'm quite impressed actually with those so far. They look really good. And my kitchen is a mess. So my little cakes are done, and I've had to improvise with a wire cooling rack because we don't have one. So I essentially have a sieve that's being held up over a saucepan. But before you ice the cakes, you do want to make sure that they are completely cold, otherwise your icing will go everywhere. So that's what I'm going to do with the little ones now. Big one is still in the oven. I reckon it's been in there about half an hour maybe, so another 20 minutes should probably do it because it was still quite underdone. But when those are done, we're going to get them out and wait for them to cool, and then we shall get icing. Okay, so now my big cake is done, and all in all it did have about 50 minutes in the oven, I think. So I'm going to transfer it to my makeshift cooling rack. Oh no, I've lost a cake. According to the instructions for this cake tin. Oh! Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh Jesus. According to the instructions for this cake tin, the more you use it, the less sticky it gets. It's okay though, because we're going to cover the whole lot in Maltesers. So you won't even see the edges. You just need to, you know, get out of the bowl. That would be absolutely wonderful right now. I feel like the edge of my cake is going to be absolutely shredded. No. Oh, oh! Yay, we're out! I'm going to leave that there with the other cakes to cool, and I'm just going to put that to one side. For those shots, I don't think I even had the lights on. Oh dear. To make the ganache or icing, you will need 300 grams of dark chocolate chopped into fine pieces, 150 millilitres or half a cup of thickened cream. I haven't thickened this one because thickening it means whisking it for ages, and I don't have the time. And 30 grams of butter. You'll also need 2 1/4 cups of icing sugar and an extra 185 grams of butter. So we need to put the chocolate and the cream and the 30 grams of butter into this large bowl here. Again, it needs to be one that's microwave safe because we will be melting the whole lot together. Whoa, look how good that looks. I put it in the microwave for 2 minutes, but I stopped it every 15 seconds and gave it a stir just to make sure that it didn't catch fire. I have witnessed that happen in a microwave before. Now I'm going to put my chocolate mixture to one side and start on the icing in the middle. So I'm taking the rest of the butter that we'd left out, and it says with an electric whisk beat it. Don't have one of those, so good old muscles, here we go. Oh, this is not working. I'm just gonna stab my way through this butter. That looks fluffy enough, right? Right. Yeah, that'll do. Okay. So then it says to add in the malted milk powder, and this is, I forgot to mention how much this was, didn't I? It's 3/4 of a cup of malted milk powder. So that's going in. It's like Horlicks, I think. And then the icing sugar as well, which is 2 1/4 cups worth. You also need a tablespoon of milk. I'm going to put the milk in now. I don't want to put too much in, but at the same time I think I'll need a little bit more than that. So 2 tablespoons. And then the icing sugar. With icing sugar you have to be really careful because it literally goes everywhere. So I'm going to do a spoon at a time, or 2 spoons, and then attempt to whisk it in. And the butter is all stuck in my whisk. I don't even know how to get that out. Tell you what, I couldn't have a YouTube channel dedicated entirely to baking because I am absolutely shocking at it. I can bake, don't get me wrong. It just never looks as easy as other people make it. I mean, I never find it easy. I've enlisted the help of my uncle. This is Uncle Paul.
Hi.
And we've gone in with a fork instead and added a bit more milk than the recipe suggested because we need to get all of this icing sugar in here. But when you don't have an electric whisk, enlist the help of your uncle because this is so much better. He's getting it all over the table though, so that was not me. Lovely.
Whoops. You can edit that, can't you?
I can edit it, but I don't know whether I want to. Going all over the table, but it's looking great. Lovely. Now we need 1 spoon of the chocolatey ganache. That's what they call it, isn't it? Ganache. Never heard you so quiet. There you go. We're going to cover the whole thing with Maltesers so it looks like a Yorkshire pudding. Not a Yorkshire pudding. What are they called? Christmas pudding. Bless him, he's literally just got through the door, hasn't even taken his shoes off yet, and I'm like, can you mix this please?
How's that?
That looks great. Yeah. Pleased with that. Well, don't get it on the carpet, please. Thank you very much.
Alright.
Thank you. Yeah, so if you don't have an electric whisk, use a fork and some muscle, even if it's not your own, because that worked a lot better than this did. It says we need to leave the ganache for 90 minutes. And we need to wait for the cake to cool so I can cut it up and then put the icing in the middle and then cut the ganache all over the top and then hopefully it will be done. Now that my cake has finally cooled, it's been about 2 hours, I'm going to cut it through the middle and put my icing through that was very kindly whisked for me. The recipe says to do 3 layers of it, but I don't know whether with my tiny little cake I'm going to get 3 layers out of it. So I'm just going to do 2. This is most likely not going to be straight, but that's okay. Right, so in the middle I will put the icing, and I have an awful lot of icing for such a little cake, but we don't want to put it on too thick because otherwise it will just go everywhere. I don't know what I'm going to do with all the rest of this icing, mind.
Eat it.
Myself in one go. I feel like this is such a dense cake. So I've iced my middle and this is how much icing I have left. I'll find a use for that somewhere, don't you worry. For the rest of the cake we need to cover it with our ganache, which is supposed to be, and I quote, glossy but spreadable, which I'd say this is, if you ask me. I don't have a palette knife, so I'm just going to go straight in with a spoon and hope for the best. But as I said, we're going to cover it with Maltesers anyway. So technically it doesn't really matter if it doesn't look pretty, and this definitely does not look pretty. Again, I've got quite a lot of ganache and a very small cake, so we're going to go for a thick layer and serve diabetes on a plate. Maybe I should have cut the top off so it's sat kind of flush against the bottom of the plate. Or I could just pack some ganache in there and no one will know any different. Now the semi-fun bit is to cover it in Maltesers. Recipe said I needed 5 bags, but I don't know whether I'm going to get 5 bags on this, so we'll see how we go. And I really love Maltesers, so if we have some left over, it's not the end of the world. So it's suggested to start in the middle and then work your way outwards rather than... Oh my goodness! Maybe I'd advise getting a box rather than, you know, all these bags that go everywhere. Right, we're back on track. Good, good. So I'm just going to do mine in, I put one in the middle and then I'm going to do like a circle around and then just keep it going. When you put them like that, one bag of Maltesers doesn't really seem like a lot, does it? I have the essential shape and body of the cake. The only thing left to do is to melt a bit of either white chocolate or white icing over the top to give it that kind of top of the Christmas pudding look. For the icing on top, I'm using something called candy melts, and they're essentially like little blocks of vanilla flavoured chocolate buttons almost. So what you do is you melt them in the microwave, and you can melt them as many times as you want. That's not gone quite as flat as I'd like. And then it makes it easier to pipe to ice because I forgot to pick up white chocolate. I feel like if you'd remembered to get white chocolate, the finished product would look a bit more drizzly than this, which is probably what you want. And then to finish off, I'm going to stick a few cherries on the top. And these are the, what are they called? Glace? I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's those cherries that aren't like real cherries. All you need now is like a sprig of holly on the top and you have your Christmas pudding. Christmas pudding, not Yorkshire pudding.